Really good. We'll just restart that. Absolutely. Hopefully we sound okay now. Hopefully the stream isn't dead. And I'm looking at the stream again now, and it's still like just refreshing from that point on. So did you stop it entirely and then do it, or? I mean, a new one. Okay, that's probably good. And it's still looping from the same point where it died. This is. Oh, here. Okay, I sound great. Wait. Okay. Do you sound good? I sound great. I sound normal. And I cannot hear you talk. Nope. I sound normal though. But when you were talking, I could not hear you.
Okay, what about now?
Well, the stream's like a certain amount of time back, so let's just see.
Perfect. Great, it's working. We fixed it. We fixed the issue.
Got it. Let's go.
We fixed it. Take two.
We got it.
All right, now we can get down to business. Continuing on, talking about those pesky turnovers. There has not been one player who's specifically been bad. It's just bad mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. And when I talked to JR after game 1 on Friday, he said, and I'm using his exact verbiage here, was a turnover caused by a 19-year-old player, which probably stings a bit, right? Because when you have such experienced players, there is a certain level of trust and reliance put into them, right? Knowing that, those experienced players are not gonna be the ones to potentially make those turnovers happen, right?
Yeah.
But it happened. It sucks. And he said at the time that they just have to sharpen up and clean up a few bits of their defensive game. And the funny thing is, even though they lost game 1, they were genuinely, or at least JR was. He said he was perfectly fine with how they played. He had no overall big issues in terms of how they played, in terms of how they executed their plan. Right? They outshot Barry by a lot of shots. They were causing traffic. They were following their set pieces. They were doing all those kinds of things, right? But I think he was alluding to the sense that it was just a case of really good goaltending, right? Really good goaltending and turnovers that probably shouldn't have been made by experienced players. At least that would, again, that's just game 1, right? So
yeah, and then pretty much the exact same thing happened in game 2, but on Barry's side, they kept turning over the puck. Like, it was something that we're not used to seeing from either team. Like, there aren't turnovers often with the Steelheads team. There aren't turnovers often with this Barry team. Like, to see the Steelheads take advantage of that in game 2, I want to see more of that. You know what I mean? Capitalize on those mistakes that they're making. And that's just the thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's just the thing, right? Is that you got to capitalize on Barry's mistakes, because the more that you do that, the more you're going to get rewarded and the better scoring chances you're going to have, right? Whereas if you're just going to sit in your own zone, it's not going to be as effective, obviously. Oh, but with that being said, though, game 2 was a lot better. There was the one goal that Barry scored in the game was a tough one, but it also wasn't even really that bad. They ended up getting one goal on probably 8, 9, 10 scoring chances. Yep. Roman Bazarin was solid. Matt Guzda played in net again. The highlight of the game for me, though, I think was seeing Owen Beck's overtime winner, because it was just all pure effort.
Oh, absolutely. It was pure effort. You know what? We need a goal. I'm going to try something new, and that's not even try something new, but I'm going to try something here. That's what he said after the game when we interviewed him, right? He wanted to get up there, try to do a play, and just see if it would work out. And it worked out. What a big shot. And this is something, especially before the season started, that I didn't think Owen Beck genuinely had. And I will say, though, that was because I didn't know a lot about him. His shot is very, very good. He has an incredible, incredible shot. And my goodness, it worked out there against a very good goalkeeper in Matt Guzda.
In Matt Guzda,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing about that game that I liked a lot better is that it was almost like, the first game they were jittery. They were a little bit jittery. Second game they bounced back. And then Monday's game, what happened? You know what I mean? That's the thing that really irks me, is that they played such a good game on Sunday, and I get you're playing a back-to-back, but I mean, just there were very few people that showed up on Monday night. James Hardy was one of the guys who showed up, Ethan Del Mastro, and
Jake Uberty showed
Jake
up every
Uberty.
single game.
That's
showed up in every single game.
Yep. And that's those three were basically in my eyes the only three players that showed up to the game. And again, I'm not knocking them, but I mean, it's just they weren't there in a sense, because it's not the way.
Game 3 or game 2?
Game 3. Game 3. They weren't there.
I feel like for game 3, you could say they were tired. It's kind of a brutal schedule, especially with the intensity of the playoffs. Of course, I'm not trying to make excuses for the reason why they lost, but it doesn't help when you're playing a back-to-back in the playoffs, because how often does that happen in the NHL?
No, yeah, exactly. Like it barely happens. It does happen, but it's less and less common, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the nature of the OHL playoffs, of the major junior hockey system, but it's weird. It's weird. It's a weird schedule, but you know what? They didn't show up when they had to. The schedule calls them to show up. They got to show up, and majority of them sadly did not show up offensively. At least I would say offensively. Defensively, this has been a low-scoring series for a reason, right?
Yeah,
because their defense has been fine. Domasho's been good. Larson's been good. Majority, the defense has been good. Callahan, my goodness, every time I see Charlie Callahan play, the more I realize how much of a big factor he is on the team, and how lost the defense would be without him on that back end, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the things that I've noticed, and I think if you've been watching Steelheads games, you'll notice this as well. When Charlie Callahan's not in the lineup, it's noticeable. It's very, very noticeable. Not to say that anybody else is looking bad, because they certainly aren't. But I mean, you notice that big hole where he's supposed to be.
Sure, absolutely.
And
this is what I'll say. And if I could just say this.
Yeah, of course.
Dylan Gordon. I'm a big fan of Dylan Gordon. I like Dylan Gordon a lot. I think next year he'll have a great year. He's a rookie, though, right? He's a rookie for a reason, right? That's why he hasn't played as much as Charlie Callahan has played, right? Because he has that experience, right? He has that knowledge and wherewithal to know what to do in terms of making quick decisions consistently at the OHL level, right? Charlie Callahan is a great player. Dylan Gordon is a very good player who I think next year is going to become great, right?
Yes.
But if you put in Dylan Gordon over Charlie Callahan, you're not, again, this season, in terms of right now, I'm not talking about next year, because Dylan Gordon will be incredibly suitable next year. I think you'll have tremendous growth next year. But realistically, you're not setting yourself up to win if you don't have Charlie Callahan in your lineup, right?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to experience, because we were talking about a little bit earlier in the season how experience is going to be the one thing that trumps everything else. And yes, you've seen a lot of the guys who, young players who, I want to use Luke Misa as an example, who's been fitting in, but, he goes through points where, he's hit a bit of a wall. And I mean, JR has said that, but I mean, you can't expect 05s or 04s to fit in right away, right?
I wouldn't even.
Not everybody's going to be an Owen Beck type player who scores, 50, 60 points in his rookie season and then some, you know what I mean? It takes, especially for a guy like Dylan Gordon, when he's, when he hasn't played as much in the lineup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to get a little bit tough to do what you do, right? But I think as the more games he plays, the better he's going to get. But with that being said, though, defensively, they didn't play bad.
They didn't play bad.
They didn't play bad through the first two games, I should say.
No, I don't think they. Yeah, I know, I agree. It was a low-scoring game for a reason. They mitigated a lot of mitigated. I think, yeah, trying to find the right word for it.
Yeah.
Oh no, they minimized a lot of shots, especially in game one.
Exactly.
Barry didn't even get 30 shots on. They did get more shots in game two, which you got to tighten things up a bit. And then game three, Barry just they lost it.
Yeah, and that's
Roman Bazrin's okay. I believe he got a cut on his neck from a skate or something.
Oh yeah, that was pretty scary.
That is scary.
Just looking at that. Looking at it back,
it's scary. Yeah, it's scary to see stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. When we were all watching the game on Monday, I remember thinking to myself, like, "Oh my God, I hope he's okay." Right? And then when he got up, it was like a huge sigh of relief because it's just like, oh my, like, not so much that I wanted him to return to the game, but I just like his well-being is the most important thing.
You didn't want him to return to the game.
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but I mean, like, above all else,
you gotta. Okay, sure. Above all else, of course,
just as long as he's okay, then
obviously
that's the important thing, right?
Absolutely, it is. Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, overall, they've got to play better if they want to win this series. Play like they were in the first two games. They played solid. Just watch the turnovers. Yesterday, I think they were tired. You know, very few. Like I said, very few players stood out. Del Mastro, Hardy, Uberti, and then everybody else was like, they weren't playing bad, but they didn't.
Hardy, that's it.
You know, they didn't play to the level like we're used to seeing. So I think that it's going to be pretty interesting, to say the least, to see how this game goes tonight. But, you know, I would expect Joe Ranger to get the start tonight.
I would expect him. I agree with you. I would expect him to do it too. It depends though, because throughout the season we've seen Roman Bazrin play 3 games in 3 days.
Exactly, and JR's mentality too. Every time that JR's mentality too. Every time we've talked to him is don't change what works unless it doesn't work.
True, unless it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, then you change it, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what kind of perspective you think. Okay, it depends on your perspective of Game 3. Do you say that's a game where Roman Bazrin should have had? Is that a game the defense should have had? Right? It depends, right?
Exactly.
Because obviously, if Roman Bazrin is healthy enough to play, he's rested enough to play, James Richardson will play him. He will absolutely play him over Joe Ranger, which sometimes I have been very critical of. And if I haven't been, and if people think I have been critical of, absolutely I've been critical of. There have been a decent amount of games where I personally think Joe Ranger should have played over Roman Bazrin, especially looking at the future plans of the franchise and how Bazrin's gone next year, and Ranger will be the guy, right? So you have to you have to you have to get the ball and put it in the slingshot perfectly and line it up so it can be so it can be as an effective shot as it can. And that's what I'm talking about with Joe Ranger. You got to give him some games, right?
Yeah.
And
he's more than likely, exactly. And he's more than likely going to be the starter for next year, because Roman Bazrin, obviously, as we know, is an overager.
He is the starter. Like, dude, I'm sorry, it ain't Justin DeLauro. It's not Ethan Cowich. I think Cowich will be the backup. It's not Cole Moore, unless Cole Moore has a great training camp, which he absolutely could, but it's not Justin DeLauro. I'm sorry to say it, but it's not Justin DeLauro, right?
Yeah.
And Mississauga, I'm being frank here. I'm sorry if I'm going off all of a sudden. They're not great at developing goalies. They're not great at developing goalies, right? Mississauga's whole game plan of a goalie is to either trade for one or go after an OA who is really, really good. And they did that with Flynn, Mancina. The only real goalie I personally think they developed is Spencer Martin. You could say Ingham, but then again, he had his best year with Kitchener, right? So
I think they're good at developing goalies. It's just I think it's the lower leagues. They just don't get enough kind of attention, I think. In terms of well, no, I'm talking like AAA. Like when you're bringing up goalies from AAA. Sometimes they don't get enough attention.
Sure, but I don't know, dude. Listen, like, honest, that's just my take, at least.
Yeah.
Besides Spencer Martin and maybe you could say Jacob Ingham, they haven't developed anyone. They haven't developed a goalie it to be prominent in the ECHL, AHL, let alone the NHL. Let's not name Spencer Martin, right? Of course, Ingham, he's still young and he has a good future. He'll play, he'll be an NHL goalie, but you gotta play Joe Ranger, and I think tonight is definitely the night that you play Joe Ranger, because you know what? Worst thing is if Ranger doesn't do good, you play Bazin on Saturday,
Yep.
and knowing Bazin, he'll part of my language, he'll play his ass off, he'll
Yeah.
play his abs like he'll play his butt off, right? It's a do or die game in at home. He would have had his Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 days rest, either
Yep.
and for record, they practice so much; it's absolutely insane. I generally wonder sometimes how these players stay well rested, right? Because after a tough game, they could easily do practice at 10 a.m. The next morning, right? So as long as Bazin is well rested for the next couple of days, because Game 5 will happen in Mississauga on Saturday. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I would play Ranger tonight and then play Bazin then, but that's just me. So.
No, I agree. And I mean, I think it's good to give Bazin a little bit of rest, and it's good to give Ranger a little bit of playing time, because then
Absolutely.
if you need them both for dire situations, they're ready to go. So that would be perfect. Which leads me into our next segment, standout players. So we're each going to pick 3 players that have stood out to us throughout the season, whether it was defying expectations, people who have really just had a breakout year, or, just different aspects like that have really impressed us throughout the year. Alex, we're going to start with you.
Players that I've been impressed of throughout the season or throughout the series?
Throughout the series and the season.
Okay, so series, Jake Uberty.
Yeah.
It's been Jake Uberty. And personally, I'm not going to say James Hardy, as much as I love James Hardy, as much as I think he's the best goal scorer on the team and one of the best players in the league. It's not James Hardy. And I say that because of the consistency of his playing, right? If you look at the goals, they were all very good goals. Classic wide open net or open net for a bit, snipes it beautifully. That's what a sniper does. He capitalizes on those narrow or open net chances. But when I see Jake Uberty, every single shift he does, I'm shaking my camera. That's how passionate I am about this. I'm hitting my desk. Every single time he's on the ice, he looks incredible. He's doing incredible things with
and it's
getting around the D properly, getting around the net, creating a an on-man rush, either passing it back to the point to set up, set up a set piece or whatnot, right? Everything Jake Uberty has done in this series so far, to me, has been nothing shy of perfect. I think he's been great, and I think he's been the best player on the team so far, even though he doesn't have any points.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, it doesn't necessarily even have to be from the point getting side of things. You see him out there, and he's like a powerhouse, because he's breaking up plays. He's constantly making big hits. Like, this is a different side of him than we've seen during the regular season. Whereas he focused on like his point getting in the regular season, but now he's playing a lot more physical, like he wants to win, right? So I'm going to put Jake Uberty on my list, absolutely. I'm going to disagree with you on James Hardy there, because when moments come up where they need a goal, more often than not, he's been there.
In the regular season.
In the regular season. In the series, absolutely. I would like to see more of that. Like, I would like to see more of that line of Delbel, Vecchia, and
don't get me started on Delbel.
and Hardy playing.
I have no idea where Luca Delbel has been in this series. I have no idea where he's
been. And the other player I think that I'm going to say is Zach Lavoie, because he has been just an unrelenting force through the first 2 games.
He's looked very good. No,
he's been getting a lot of shot attempts, a lot of really good scoring chances. Man, this
really
is
sharp.
A different level of Zachary Lavoie that we've seen from the regular season. I think that the more chances that he gets, I'm not the coach here, but I would try Zach Lavoie on that first line with Hardy and Delbel. I think that would be an interesting combination to at least try out for a game or for a couple of minutes. But it's
it's a good idea. I like the idea. My only thing is, though, why split up Beck and Lavoie?
That's true.
That's been working all year long, and honestly, it's like, as much as Lavoie and listen, I absolutely agree with you 110%. Zach Lavoie has looked like a totally different player in these in games 1 and 2. Game 3, I don't think anyone really showed up except for James Hardy and Uberty. That's it, and Ethan Del Mastro. But in those first 2 games, my goodness, man, Zach Lavoie has looked like a stud. He looks like
Incredible.
an NHL draft prospect, right? You know, like I said, like dude, even his pat look. I just want to say his passing has been underrated all year, really. I think because I've seen incredible saucer passes from the right side of the boards onto center lane, giving it to Beck, where Beck has scored many good goals. Uh, his of course he's a better shooter than passer, but his passing is very very good,
Oh
incredibly
yeah.
good, and his defensive side of the puck in terms of regaining puck control over a turnover or trying to cause a turnover, right? His 200-foot game has looked very very good in these playoffs, and obviously, if you're an NHL scout, I imagine that I would imagine they would take playoff performance a bit more into consideration than a regular season performance. Maybe that's just me, right? Playoffs are
Yeah.
what playoffs are what truly matter in hockey if you want to win a championship. And so far, I absolutely agree with you, man. That Zach Lavoie has looked very, very good in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm yeah, you said it perfectly yourself. I mean, there are so many players that have looked great through the regular season. They've looked okay through the playoffs, but I think that there's still a chance that, let's say that they get through Barrie and they make it on to round 2. I think that's where a lot of players are going to come out of the woodwork and start to excel because the pressure's off getting out of the first round and it's on to a new task. But, with that being said, though, anything could happen. We could see all of a sudden Evan Brand get like 90 goals in his next 5 games. It's unpredictable. But I think that like the more comfortable they get playing in the first round and in the playoffs against Barrie, the better the results are going to be. And obviously, yes, that was a joke, Alex. Yes.
Oh, I know. If Evan Brand scores 1 goal, I'll freak out. Honestly,
but it's
no offense
yeah.
to Brand. I love
just
Evan Brand. Great guy, great player.
It was incredible to see these guys so far, and I'm really excited to see what they can do not only just tonight but moving forward. So with that being said, we're going to talk about today's sponsor, who is CW Sports Memorabilia. Thanks once again for sponsoring this live streamed video. We have a crazy collection of stuff, as you can see right behind me. I've got some autograph photos over here, jerseys, whatnot. Let's say that you wanted to get some for yourself. You don't want to pay a fortune. And, you want to get some really cool stuff. Like if you're a fan of baseball, for example, right? Alex, I know you're a big Blue Jays fan. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., right? If you are a football fan, hockey, soccer, like anything that you can imagine, CW Sports Memorabilia has you covered. And Alex, they don't just offer like autographed pictures and baseballs and all that stuff. They offer custom artwork, custom framing. So if you have a specific jersey that you got signed by your favorite player, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby,
Gretzky,
you name it,
whoever you want, right?
it's totally customizable. You can give them a design that you want to get done, and they will get it done for you. And you know what the best part is, Alex?
If you message CW Sports Memorabilia and say, hey, I heard you from the Pro Shot guys, you will get 10% off your very first order. 10% off, Tyler.
Which on top of all the really cool, good stuff that they have, that's a really good deal. So definitely go check them out. We will link them in the description, of course, as per usual when this video is uploaded. So yeah, I know them myself. I'm a big fan of collecting pucks and autograph pictures, hockey cards, anything like that. And the amount of stuff that they've got is just incredible. There was I think when we were at the card show a little while ago, they had an Evander Holyfield signed pair of boxing gloves.
Yeah.
That right there would be just like a cool thing to have in your collection.
That's just history.
That's just all the stuff that you get. So once again, go check out CW Sports Memorabilia. We will link their social medias in the description so you can go and check them out for yourself. And of course, if you're going to make an order, don't forget to tell them that the Pro Shot guys sent you. So with that being said, Alex, I want to move into a little bit of a preview for tonight's game. Game 4, the big one-ish. Big game. We're expecting Joe Ranger to start for the Steelheads tonight.
I hope he does.
I would probably say that Mateo Lalama is going to start again for the Colts. I would probably rest Guzda for a big game.
Absolutely, especially since he's coming off
Yeah.
of an injury in terms of when he started game one. That was I believe, his first or second game right back from an injury. He then had a scary fall, and I believe in game two. Um, yeah, I would start the Llama. That kid's incredible.
So yeah, the goaltending tandems that we're expecting tonight, and you can probably find this out. They're going to tweet out the lineups, but we're expecting Joe Ranger to start for the Steelheads, Mateo Lalama to start for the Colts. This game's going to be a little bit different. I think we're going to see a little bit of lines scrambled. I don't know for sure. I don't think there's anybody new who's gonna draw into the lineup.
I think it's the same exact line.
I think you don't change what was working, but you got to play a lot better than you did on Monday.
Absolutely, I agree.
Because the more that you put the pressure on Barry, the more it's going to be a better result. You know, you look at so many teams who have defied expectations. The Washington Capitals, I want to use them as an example. They had that roadblock for so many years that they couldn't beat Pittsburgh no matter what. They played them, lost in 7 games, got swept, lost in 5 games. Barry's kind of been that for Mississauga throughout the years because they have beaten them on multiple occasions. But there are some times where they've been really, really, really extremely tough to beat. And I think that's what they're going through now, right? Is because Barry knows that everybody's underrating them. Everybody's underestimating their abilities, and that's what's fueling them, right? But the thing is, too, the thing about the Steelheads team is the more that you underestimate them, the more they're going to come back to bite you in the butt. And that's something that we saw throughout the regular season. That's something that we saw in game 2. That's something that we saw in the first game before the overtime winner. There's so much to love about this team, and I think that they can bounce back tonight. I'm not going to guess the final score prediction because, again, if you know me, I'm not going to jinx anything. But I think that it's going to be a really entertaining game. I think it's going to be a lot better game than Game 3 was for the Steelheads.
A lot of things are better than game.
Oh, yeah. Like
Cup of Joe. Shout out to Joe Ranger. I love their segment, A Cup of Joe. Their latest episode of A Cup of Joe, no offense, guys, was better than that third. Was better than that third game. So, but no, I absolutely agree with you. And this is one thing that I talked to you about, I believe it was yesterday, that
yes,
the power play is annoying the hell out of me.
Yeah,
it's annoying the absolute hell out of me, man.
That's the one thing that I don't get. I mean, like, it's such a good power play.
Cross crease.
It's such a good power play unit. The way that they have it set up on paper is one of the best.
A lethal power play, but
one of the best.
Cross crease after cross crease after cross crease. Shoot the puck from the point, get a guy in front of the net, have him tip it in. That's the, especially against Matt Guzda. Listen, Barry is a team of goaltending. They're a team of goaltending, realistically. Their defense, it's not bad, but it's also not incredible, right? It's not incredible. Their offense is fine. It's not incredible. Don't give up. Come on. Get the puck back to the point, get a guy in front of that, screen the goalie, have him tip it in. All 3 games, it's been this cross-creasing crap to Hardy, right? Always have a guy on that left side face-off circle, try to give it to Hardy, because obviously Hardy scored incredible goals from that right face-off circle in the offensive territory, right? But it's so overdone. It is
I think that,
and it's not working anymore.
The more that
change it up.
The more that you get people in front of the net, the better scoring chances you've had, and they have done that in the past. But I think more recently, the power play's just cross creases and glove side, right?
And that's how it's been for majority of the season, right? And it's worked throughout the season, but it's not working now.
Yeah.
Change it. If it's not working, then change it.
It's easier said than done, but I think that the more that you get guys in front of the net and get into those areas, the better it's going to be. So I am going to say that this game's going to be a lot better than Game 3. Really, really excited for it. And, I know that myself, you and I are definitely going to be watching the game. That's for sure. Like, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Man, they're going to do better. They are going to do better. I know that for a fact. They have to do
better. If they want to have some reassurance or some feeling of somewhat comfort going into Saturday, they have to win.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens.
And with that being said, I would like to now open it up to anybody who's got questions that they want to ask us or comments, anything that they want us to discuss. You can just drop that in the chat below, and we will happily discuss it if it is Steelheads related. I'm not negotiating the whole pineapple on pizza thing. No way. You're not going to catch me doing that.
Nothing technically belongs on pizza. That's all I'll say. Nothing
Exactly.
technically belongs on pizza.
Debates.
So I don't really care.
Debates are meant to be settled, but that, no, absolutely not. I'm gonna say this.
I don't mind Hawaiian. I'll be on. I don't mind Hawaiian. That's what I'll say. But it's not my first option, right? It's not my first option. So we have something here from Thomas Zubers of the Pro Shot Podcast.
Yes.
Telling us, who's a Florida Panther fan, that former Mississauga Steelhead Cole Schwinn has been recalled by the Panthers and will likely play the remainder of the regular season.
Yes.
Good. That's great. He's a great player. He absolutely deserves it.
I agree. And you know what? Honestly, seeing him in the AHL this season has been nothing short of impressive. He did play last year, but this was his first full season that he's really gotten a taste of what professional hockey's like.
And
I think he's ready.
Been bad.
I think he's ready.
Oh, absolutely.
And calling him up for the playoffs, that's going to be impressive.
I wouldn't anticipate them to do that, but they absolutely could. We'll see what happens.
It's possible.
What about jalapenos on pizza? That's I don't.
I mean, hey,
that's fine.
if it's your preference,
Whatever floats your boat, people.
I had a question from one of our users on Instagram who direct messaged me, asking if you could compare teams. Who do you think was better, the 2018 Steelheads, or sorry, the 2019-20 Steelheads, or this team? This team.
No, I think it's the opposite.
I'm going to say this team because the reason I'm saying this team is because they're a lot more structured. For a team being that's so young, they're a lot more structured. They played super, super well through that first part of the season. And of course, the COVID break. And then they started to decline, but they've still looked steady ever since. Whereas the 1920 team, they looked shaky through the first half. They had a killer second half, and then, of course, playoffs didn't happen. But I think that this team, despite being so young, is a better team overall than the 1920 squad.
That's fair. I get it. I think the total opposite, though. I think the 1920 team is much better on paper. Thomas Harley.
Yes.
Keen Washcorrect. Cole Schwinn. Richard Whitaker. Right? Is our goaltending better this year? Yes. I think Roman Bazarin has been a much more significant player than Kai Edmonds. And shout out to Kai Edmonds, by the way. I love Kai Edmonds. He's a great player. He was an Ironman. He played so many games, right? But I don't think he was as good as Roman. Because when Roman, listen, that's what I'll give to this team compared to 1920. The goaltending's better. But That's literally it. I think that's it. That Thomas Harley, man. Duncan Penman,
Oh, man, I miss those guys.
Nick Canati switching forward or D a bit, right? Having that really good, experienced offensive depth, right?
I think I'm going to agree with you.
Next year, I think 1920 was a better team. That's just me, though.
I'm going to agree with you. On paper, they look like a better team, but I mean, just performance-wise, I'm going to go this year's team because they seem to gel a lot better than last year. I mean, I could be wrong when saying that. Like, everybody's got their own opinions, but from what I've witnessed, they're gelling a lot better than the 1920 team. Not that much better, but also, a lot better, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. I would say, and listen, just from the outside looking in of 1920, I just got the sense that 1920 were way more tighter than this team.
A tight-knit group, yeah.
They're both similar, and I do agree with you for them being an overall younger team.
Yeah.
They're playing incredibly good. So I can understand why you'd say that. Thomas asks, what NHL teams do you guys think would be the best fit for Luca Del Belbaluz and Owen Beck? Owen Beck, the New York Rangers.
I'm trying to think. I mean,
No, I'm kidding.
There are a couple of fits that I could see for both of them. I think Del Bell could be used on a team, and people are gonna rip me for this one.
Don't say Toronto.
No. People are gonna rip me for this one. I think Arizona could use him because they.
Poor guy.
Let's say
5,000 people.
Let's say that Arizona would be getting first overall, right? They've got Shane Wright,
a center.
Barrett Hayton, I'm sorry, has not performed at the level that he was drafted.
He's a
If you want to get that 1-2 punch, I think that right Del Bell would be the perfect combination. And plus, Del Bell's a guy who plays a really good two-way game. We've seen a lot recently where, the first half of the season, he was just working on his defensive side. And then, of course, that offense has always been there. So I think that Arizona would be a great destination for Del Bell. I think Nashville would be another option. I think Nashville would be another option. Whereas Beck, I think he could fit in on basically any team. They both could, but I think that those are the two best fits for Del Bell. Beck, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Del Bell Blues, you know what? And honestly, you know what? I'm thinking about their prospect pipeline really. Oh, shout out to the website Prospect Pipeline. Yeah. I love those guys. I love their OHL draft scouting reports. Everything they've done for the past 2 years has been incredible. So just as a hockey fan, I love that website. So shout out to those guys. But no, listen. I would love Del Bell on Dallas. I think he'd be great on Dallas. My only thing is, realistically, would they draft him? I don't particularly know.
I could see the jersey.
I could see the jersey, but listen, they've been drafting incredibly well for the past 2 years, so they don't technically need him. But I think he would be. I think his best fit would probably be on Dallas. I think him and Jason Robertson. Oh my God, they play a lot of like.
Wow. Yeah,
big guys, broad shoulders, have great skill, have
That's
a good
true.
shot. Robertson has a better shot. No offense, Luka, but Jason Robertson, come on, 40-goal scorer for a reason. But
exactly.
But no, I think Del Bell Blues for Dallas. Beck.
You know what? I think regardless, they would fit in on
Pittsburgh. I think either Pittsburgh or the Rangers. And of course, I say that because I'm a homer for the Rangers. But I think Pittsburgh is a really good fit for him.
I could definitely see the Penguins because you have Evgeny Malkin, who I'm convinced at the end of the season he's going to retire. I don't think that he's got much left. Sidney Crosby's getting up there. They don't have a whole lot of really good center prospects. I think that if Pittsburgh drafted Owen Beck, that would be their next. He would be their next big center, regardless of where these guys go in the draft. Let me say this: they're both centers. The thing about those two is they're going to make an impact anywhere they go. It doesn't matter if they're drafted 5th round or 1st round. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter where they're drafted. They're going to do something. And we've seen that with other players in the past. You look at Thomas Harley, who was drafted 1st round. He's been a really effective player for Dallas, right? He's in their top 6D right now. He's been dressed regularly. And I'm assuming that in the playoffs, he's going to get a lot more playing time. When you take that into consideration, a team like, Dallas or Nashville or Arizona, just teams in the Central Division who need a lot more defensive forwards, I think that Del Bell would be a perfect fit there. But I think that in the Eastern Conference, wherever these guys go, it would be a great fit.
I agree.
I think that, they're going to make it some sort of impact wherever they go. So, with that being said, I'm going to agree with you. Pittsburgh, I think, would be a great option for Owen Beck. And, we're going to just have to wait and see where they get drafted. So if anybody is watching this and, around the draft time when you're coming back to watch us back, and we got the predictions correct, I'm going to be impressed. I don't think we will, but...
New York, please take Owen Beck. Strome's on his way out. We have Kopp, but still, come on.
Got another question. I think we're gonna wrap it up after this. We got another question from Cameron. How do you feel about Steelhead's legend Trevor Zegras?
Great Steelhead of all time.
You guys really know how to push my buttons.
No, listen. Let's wait 2 more minutes. I feel like there's one more question on our way.
All right.
Couple more minutes.
Okay.
Couple more minutes. If you have a question, put it downstairs in the chat. We're happy to talk any hockey, mainly Steelheads. But you know what? If you have a hockey question in general, ask us, because we are not experts and we are not going to give you an expert answer. That's the fun part about this. We're not experts. Also, this is great. So your microphone is incredible, but my microphone this whole time has just been weird. It's like you could hear me, you can understand me, but it sounded watered down, which is just great. So if we ever do this again, well, funny enough, we're planning to do this again on Friday.
Yes.
For the OHL priority selection, rounds 1 to 3. because Thomas Zubris and myself have been, and Tyler for a couple interviews as well, have been talking to some of the prospects for the upcoming 2022 OHL priority selection.
Exactly.
Which,
So
by the way, after we're done this, you can head to our channel and take a look because we uploaded 2 new OHL prospect interviews today. So if you're curious about that.
yeah, and let me say, for those who don't know a lot about Jacob Therrien and Hunter McKenzie, who were the 2 prospects that you guys interviewed, they are
Justin Tavares, buddy.
Yeah, my goodness. Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking Hunter McKenzie's tomorrow.
Justin Tavares. Yeah, that's Therrien is
yeah, Therrien's tomorrow. Yes.
Therrien's tomorrow.
But
okay, there you go.
For those who don't know a lot about those guys, you're definitely going to want to check out their prospect profiles because you're going to learn a lot more about them, and it might actually make you more inclined to go and check them out because I think that those guys are definitely first-round talents.
Absolutely.
100% are going to be incredible in the OHL. Going back to the question on Trevor Zegras. Alex, I don't know about you. We should make, during the offseason, our all-time Steelheads lineup.
Lucas Raymond.
And then we'll do like
Jack Hughes.
We'll do our all-time Steelheads lineup versus players who we drafted
and who committed.
Yeah. That would be incredible. I think that's like kind of going to be
Jack Hughes
kind
is
of
kicking
unique
our ass every time.
But
Jack Hughes is kicking the butt of just Casey Cizikas, all that crap.
But yeah, Trevor Zegras is an amazing player, and I mean to say that the Steelheads drafted him in
the
second round, it's really cool. It would have been better if he would have committed, but you know he's holding his own in Anaheim. So really happy to see that he's doing well.
He's
Again,
hockey, man.
wish he would have committed because he would have played, but you know.
I wish Jack really committed, but you know,
really impressed with the way that he's been going. So yes, to answer your question, pretty good.
Okay, 1 more minute. People, put just one more question, an actual genuine question, not about players that haven't committed to the team, nothing like that. Please, for the love of goodness, 1 more question, folks. We have 6 people watching. That is 5 more than I genuinely thought we would get, if I can be honest. But this is awesome. Just 1 more question. If you guys have any more questions, and then we will wrap it up right after 1 more question. Please give us.
And I think now would be a good time to talk about too the return of the Pro Shot Hockey Show, which is going to actually be taking place next week. So Alex, unfortunately, you're not going to be on that one with me. It's going to be Cameron Reeser making his return to Pro Shot after a long extended period of absence, but we're finally going to bring it back. First one we're going to bring back for the playoffs. Super excited about that. And yes, we are going to continue doing Inside the Tank. So for those of you who are wondering, oh, is this the end? No, it's not the end. We have a lot more left in the tank. No pun intended. But it's going to be really fun. Really excited to get things done. And I know that we're going to be covering basically every level of hockey that there is. So that being said, we're going to determine a date next week, and then we're going to let you know when that date's going to be. But for now, we're focused on Game 4.
We're focused on Game 4
and
tonight.
It's going to be interesting. I would love to do a reaction video, like whether it's, I think it's probably going to be next season. Like just being able to react to the Steelheads games, so you all can genuinely see our reactions, how we would during a game. For those of you who have seen me at the games, I'm a little bit your classic hockey fan, just jumping up whenever they score, getting super excited.
One more question. We got one. I'm sorry, Ty. We got a question from Thomas.
Ooh.
Who is your guys' pick for the Memorial Cup? And is there also a hockey show coming for the NHL draft?
Well, there is going to be a hockey show coming for the NHL draft. Yes, I'm glad that you asked that. Yes.
Be, and we may or may not get a friend of the podcast on. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's been on the podcast before and likes to talk about the NHL draft. Who is my pick for the? Who is our pick? Oh, Edmonton Oil Kings. Edmonton win that. Dylan Genther, Caden Gooley, Jake Neighbors. You win that Memorial Cup, baby. You do it. Let's go, boys.
I will say this, for me, it's too early to tell. I am not going to make my predictions quite yet because I want to see.
It's not too early to tell.
I'm going to wait until probably the second round because then I'll get a good feeling of who's going to be around later on in the playoffs. Yeah, that's I think it's going to be interesting whoever wins it. Whoever's going to St. John. So this is going to be.
St. John ain't winning it.
No, I don't think so.
Just hit my glass.
Sebastian Casa, yes. Yes. But I think that's going to do it for our first live show. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we had in the beginning.
My
it was a little bit of
garbage, but hopefully we'll figure this out for Friday. Because I'm very excited for Friday. If you don't follow me on Twitter, at Alex Fordal, or at A Fordal, FORDDAL. I'm big into the OHL draft. I've been tweeting some news about the OHL draft that for those who care should check it out. But seriously, we got to fix this. Tyler, we got to fix this because your mics, you sound great. I sound muffled. So we got to fix it. We're
gonna have it fixed by Friday. But for those who did tune in, thank you very much for watching. We really did appreciate it. For those who asked questions, incredible. Thank you very much for those questions because it's always a fun time getting to discuss what other people want to hear as well. Absolutely. In addition to the playoffs that we're already discussing now. So for those of you who haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button that you see up top and the little bell notification for all future content so you're going to be the first one that gets to see it when it goes live. And once again, from myself and Alex Fordal, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.